fun with this.
We're live now. I just did 10 minutes all by myself. So this is the first time that I am going live on Instagram, or not Instagram. Geez, I'm already messing that up. So this is a first ever time for this podcast, The Card Diary by Hobby S. Thompson. I wanted to share with you that I am currently at episode 95. This is not possible without the support from folks in the hobby, and especially one person in particular who is I guess he's on stage now. So let's get everyone on stage. All right, here we go. Here's the deal. This is The Card Diary by Hobbyist Thompson. This is episode 95. We're barreling towards 100. And I've only recently started doing group recordings. And that was also because someone encouraged me and said, why don't you give it a shot? So I said, okay, I will go ahead and give it a shot. Tonight, I went live on YouTube, and we're doing a first ever YouTube live recording with StreamYard at the recommendation by Trent, who has brought his supporters over here. I'm not going to do a very long intro like I did just now with 10 minutes. I'm going to jump right into it, and then I'll just weave in what I was saying, just now, because I don't want my guests to hear what I just had to say. But before I do have them introduce themselves, I wanted to say this is being recorded on November 10th evening before Veterans Day. And I wanted to say happy Veterans Day to all the incredible military men and women, veterans, military spouses, of people who are in the hobby, all the folks who protect our wonderful country, the United States of America, because freedom is not free. And these are the folks why. And so this is an opportunity to hear from them directly. We have currently two people who are on stage. We have a third who will be coming later on, but we're just going to wait on him. We got to get the show on the road because I know one person has to pop out later. But this is the time for us to hear their experiences and how maybe their military service does help them with, participating in the hobby. So without further ado, I am going to say, Trent and Dakota, welcome to the podcast. Trent, could you please introduce yourself first?
Absolutely. So first off, Denny, thanks for the invite. This is super awesome to be able to talk about the hobby, shout out Veterans Day and everything like that. So as far as military background, I'm a 2021 Air Force Academy graduate, commissioned in 2021, and I've been active duty ever since. I'm an acquisitions officer in the Air Force. So basically all the background to get planes flying, somebody's got to make sure that planes are built properly, all the money's there, everything like that. That's pretty much the gist of what I do. But as far as the hobby goes, so I'm Air Force by day, breaker by night. That's typically what I go by. I break for this awesome, another veteran-owned company, Jet Breakers, who the owner is currently a KC-135 reserve pilot in the Air Force. So we've got a pretty cool Air Force background. As far as like the hobby goes in terms of how the military has shaped my views of collecting and things like that, I mean, I think a really big thing with the military that really structures us and gets us, in the zone for collecting, it really is organization. Because half the time when you rip open a box, you sleeve and you top load certain cards and whatnot, and then you put them in piles some way. Well, for me, I tell you what, I have boxes and boxes and boxes sorted out by teams, divisions, players, parallels, everything. So I feel like that attention to detail that a lot of folks learn during basic training or the sort really kind of parallels over into the card universe.
I love that. Thank you so much, Trent. And thank you for being here and accepting the invitation. You are very highly requested and highly regarded by your supporters who just came in droves, who were like, get Trent, get Trent. And I did have someone recommend Jason of Jet Breakers as well. And, he's on travel. So, I would love to have Jason on in the future as well. So thank you for that. Dakota, you are next up.
Hey guys, again, off what Trent said, Denny, thank you so much for the invitation. Have had a great time getting to know you at the local shows in the DMV area. And just following off like with what Trent said, I'm more of a dealer. I'm not a breaker in any way, shape, or form. But a dealing, like organization in collecting, is such a massive deal. like you said, the attention to detail. For me as a dealer, my display case means everything to me. I want a nice, organized display case by sport, like baseball on one side, football on another side, to just create a clean presentation. I think as a dealer, if you have a sloppy case, no one's going to want to spend time looking at it. So for me, okay, I'm going to take pride in what I do, to make sure that my product and my case looks clean, organized. And I feel like you said, I've learned that from day one in basic training. Background, I didn't get to introduce that part. I've been in the Army for 8 years now, in the National Guard, Army National Guard. So it's more part-time, not active duty, but I still get to do my part 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer, and it's a great privilege to do that. But like you said, the attention to detail is just, I think, the one important thing in communication. Learning communication skills with people of different backgrounds, because at a card show and in a hobby, you get people from all different backgrounds, from all over the world, and the communication has to be there. If you can't communicate effectively at a show, you could lose a client, you could lose potential deals or friends. So I feel like the communication and that attention to detail are two of the most key things that I take from the military and the hobby.
Thank you so much, Dakota. And I apologize. So usually when I do these podcasts, I'm like so laser focused with what people are saying, but I realize we have a live chat. I am so new to this. I did hear everything you had to say. Thank you for your service as well. And actually, that's the first thing I maybe wanted to talk about before I kind of get into the chat a little bit. You know, we got some people who are saying vets pull the best cards. Vets who like Mets wear jorts. I don't know what that means, Dana, but
that's targeted at me.
I don't know who YouTube user is, but legendary. How do you say your last name?
Liches like stitches.
Liches like stitches. Austin Hayes Collector is. Oh yeah, that's the waiting thing. I'm sorry about that. Landers says, I came here for the legend that some call Dakota. Love it. Dakota's getting some love too. Dub C Writer saying video is rolling awesome. YouTube user. Do you know who that is, Trent?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. The YouTube user's throwing me off.
Yeah, they have a profile pic. I don't know if that's from like a movie or if that's a real person's thing.
That might be my buddy Zach. I see the Seattle Kraken hat, so I think that
awesome.
That might be who it is.
Identify yourself. No burner and troll accounts, please. Dana says Trent is awesome except when doing math. Trent is legit. Dub C Redder says so. I can't get into all of this. I will say, Q, thank you for being here, a day one supporter, and also knows Dakota as well. Q says love the live podcast format, and glad is that this is the one I'll highlight the most, which is Glad the Ripper says Iraq 05 to 06. Thanks for your service, fellas. Thank you to Glad for your service as well. So let's get into that first before we get into the hobby stuff. I want to learn more. Can I say, or how do you feel when people say thank you for your service?
I mean, I guess I'll jump into this. Awkward. I mean, like, you know, it's a weird thing because, you know, in my position, at least being a younger guy in the military, you know, personally, I've never been deployed. I've never seen combat. So, you know, when people thank me for my service, in my personal opinion, I feel like I don't want to say not worthy of that, because that doesn't, you know what I mean? Where I haven't seen or been through some of the things that a lot of guys like, you know, Glad saying, you know, Iraq 05, 06, like that guy would be a guy that I would thank for his service. You know what I mean? Because he went through the stuff that's, you know, that really makes what the United States is today.
Well, before I let Dakota go, I don't know much about the military. I know in my now never will be seen 10-minute intro, I mentioned my lack of military service experience, which I'll share after Dakota goes. But I imagine it's all without any disrespect, like kind of like cogs in a machine. Like it takes all parts for the machine to go, right? So you mentioned how you're an acquisitions officer, like someone's got to do the acquisitions and office that, so right? So I mean, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, without guys in the background, I mean, it's the same thing of, you know, a jet won't fly if a jet isn't built. You know what I mean? That's like our perspective. For me, I work on an ICBM system, so nuclear weapon system. So, if that's not tested properly, when the time comes where the day we may need to use that, we need to ensure that it works, and
Intercontinental ballistic missiles.
yes, sir.
Okay, ICB. Okay, cool. Dakota, how do you feel about the phrase "Thank you for your service"?
So I would say for me, like, for one, it's a decision we all make, right? Like, we chose this career field. So I feel like there's no need to be thanked for something that you chose to do. Like, I willingly made the choice to join the armed forces to serve my country, as I felt called to do. So I feel like for me, and kind of in the same boat, like I haven't deployed in that sense like that. So I've done stateside missions, and where I feel like I have done things and people have said, thank you so much for being here in a time of need, which then I would say, yeah, I feel appreciated. But I feel as most of us are, like, we chose this job because we wanted to be a part of something bigger than ourselves and to serve people and to help people because we felt called to do so. So in the deep down, there's no need for it, but it does still feel nice to be appreciated every once in a while, because certain situations you don't always get that. So when you do something, it is nice to be appreciated sometimes. Yeah.
That's good. I mean, because I think I hope you all would understand, or realize that when people do say it, it's coming from a good place or good intentions at least. But I do know that there was a movie out, I think called "Thank You for Your Service," that was about the military and how, the trials and tribulations, and also how, and maybe that's not what this movie was about, but there's a common theme or trope in these certain military movies where it's about how people integrate back into society if they were deployed, and how the military and the United States of America treats its veterans when they come back from overseas. And I did want to also say thank you, Sullivan, who says not all service members are veterans, war veterans, he says. And so, yes, thank you so much, because I'm trying to learn too. Like, really, like, this is not someone. I'm merely the vessel or the host of this, but I want my guests, and our third person will join later, but I want our guests to really fill in that the conversation. So Austin says appreciation is definitely the best feeling. Dub C Writer says Dakota's job is important too. He protects us on our own soil. Yeah, so I mean, Dakota, again, we'll get to the hobby stuff, we'll get to the cards, and I did want to highlight another individual before we proceed. But can you tell us more about, like, what type of work you do, like on domestic soil?
Yeah, so I'm part of the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. So what the National Guard entails is the National Guard is the only component of the U.S. military that can be deployed on U.S. soil. So when you have hurricanes, tornadoes, I've done snow up in New York. When there's a national emergency, the president or the governor will call upon the National Guard to assist in those situations. So I feel like that gives me such a better feeling of being able to help here at home, because we have so many people that go overseas. Like, everyone's got a job to do. But being in the National Guard, there's a special component of, like, being able to act upon a governor's instruction and the president's instruction. So you're able to be there for your own state or the surrounding states as well. And like presidential inaugurations, my unit, I'm allowed to share it, but my unit got tasked out with the upcoming presidential inauguration. So I'll be pulling security for that. So I'll be down there. So there's a lot of cool opportunities in the National Guard to serve here in the home soil.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for saying it so well. Can I just say straight up, unscripted, live podcast, never done before. You mentioned presidential inauguration. I did not know that this individual is going to be here, but we are graced by our hobby president, Joe Mangini, the Mangini Collection. He just won the Sports Card Radio hobby election for hobby president, and he has graced us with his presence in this chat, unscripted. he says thanks for your service, and he said that minutes before Dakota said what he just said, the presidential inauguration. He didn't even see that on his screen. I mean, can I just say, how fortuitous is this?
Very fitting. I mean, not to get political here, but Mr. Mangini did get my vote.
Oh, you're telling us who you voted in,
I did.
in the
On the Sports Card
secrecy of the
Radio.
ballot.
Yes, I did.
Wonderful. How many times did you vote for him?
I think only like twice, because then it crashed on me, but I still casted my votes.
So this is when I will share that if for those who didn't know, I was on the ballot. I don't know who nominated me. I never asked. I did vote for myself maybe a couple of times. I did make a get out the vote about them. I just want to say it was all fun, and I really think that it's great that, because I've really binged Mr. Mangini's back catalog, and I really like his very collector focused approach with his YouTube. And I really, nothing against breakers, flippers, repackers, et cetera, but the fact that he won makes me really happy. And this is my formal, I guess I haven't made any formal announcement, but I concede the election to the hobby president. I did not call him to congratulate him. That will be forthcoming, perhaps. Maybe this is the correct way to do it. But I can't believe he's here. Thank you so much, Joe. And anyone else, I know Glad said he served, but anyone else who is in the chat who has served, if you want to put it up, I will show the comment, which I didn't even know how to do until a few minutes ago. Austin Hay says Jeff Wilson got my vote already. That's he's showing his cards here. Dub C Rider says I'm more of a hoarder, but would be considered a part-time flipper, which I totally get. And then Mr. Mangini says thanks for the support. So Dakota, again, you're not a breaker, but you mentioned that I met you as a dealer, like you set up as a dealer. I also met you through your Instagram content. But let's get to maybe a little bit more of the organization side of things, and then we'll go to Trent about his organization as a breaker. But can you maybe share a little bit more about, again, your how maybe your military service has helped with being a dealer in the hobby?
Yeah, so I feel, background on me, I am in a construction engineering unit. So we do a lot of building, we do a lot of tasks. And with that, there's a lot of tools that we have to maintain and have organized based on trade. So, each trade has its own toolkit that we have to maintain and inventory. So having to do that every month when I go to drill, when we use tools to do different tasks, I feel like I do that pretty frequently, more than I have to with all of my supplies. I'm like, oh, do I have penny sleeves? Do I have top loaders? Do I have PSA sleeves and SGC sleeves? So I'm constantly organizing my own stash of supplies, and inventorying it to make sure I have enough quantity for an upcoming show or stock I have coming in from the mail. So I'm constantly doing that, making sure I have room in my cases. And then when I'm at a show, making sure, like, I'm one of those people that preload my car the night before. I have all my supplies, my cases in the car, except for the cards. Too valuable. Can't put that in the car overnight. But when I get to the show, it's okay. We get there early. We hustle and bustle to get it set up. We have 2 cases, one for baseball, one for football, and just with a clean presentation, making sure sleeves are on every card, and just really trying to take a good inventory of what you have, to make sure that if someone comes up to you, like a kid will come up with a raw card and I'm like, hey, let me get you a penny sleeve and top loader, and just making sure you have enough for people to go around too. So I feel like the inventory side of things would be the best way that the military has impacted my collecting and dealer side of things, would just be inventory, having to do that constantly.
Nice. Do you give a military discount?
I could probably work something out there.
Nice. I really like that you give the penny sleeves and the top loaders to kids. That's really nice. That's a nice added touch. Do you think that maybe does your military service in a way help with like the negotiation side of the hobby when it comes to like your communication and personal, like emotional intelligence?
For sure, yeah. So I would say negotiation side of things, I think probably come from my civilian job more so because I work in sales. But as far as just building a connection with people, people come from all different backgrounds of life in the hobby, and they come from all over to come to shows, etc. And in the military, I have people from different countries that I work with. I have people from different parts of the state, and all over our country and all over the world. So it is really cool to see how you interact with people of different cultures and backgrounds. So I feel like that experience in my unit and my career has really benefited me to be able to reach out to people who come up to my table, and whether they want to buy something or not, just have a conversation and get to know who they are, and why they collect, who they collect. So I feel like the communication of from being young in the service, just being able to be vulnerable with people and just start conversations, has just really benefited me at shows to build better connections and make good friends in the hobby. Truly, yeah.
That is a very overlooked trait, the vulnerability. I know I've shown that in my content, and some people really resonate with it, and some people, unfortunately, attack it, and people take advantage of that. So, but thank you for doing that. I have Austin Hayes, collector, says Dakota for VP, and
Austin
then
Hayes, thank you.
Dub C Writer says, so I'm going to ask this question to Dakota since it's here, and then I'm going to go to Trent, and then we do have our third guest here in the backstage. I'm going to get them on after Trent goes. So Cody Mason says, oh, well, I want to get to everyone's questions. I have never done this. I've never done a live stream before, but Mark, this is for, I don't know, Trent's brother or father. Maybe. Thank
Yep,
you for
that's
your
my
service.
dad. Yep,
Awesome.
that's my dad.
So,
That is another Army veteran, Desert Storm
oh,
vet. Yep,
that is so
he's been
awesome.
in
So we're going to get to
since
Mark's comments.
1989. Yeah,
Oh, gosh,
he's a real one.
that
Set
is
me up on the
awesome.
right foot for sure.
I'm gonna get to the father-son connection because I think that's so big in the hobby, and then we're gonna get to so we're gonna go to Dakota, Trent, and then LT in the background. So Austin Hayes, collectors at Dakota for VP, and then Dub C Writer says, where do you get a majority of your inventory from? Dakota, and then we'll go to Trent, and then we'll go to LT.
Yeah, majority of my inventory. I would say just a lot. Honestly, trading is so undervalued. I love to trade cards. I feel like maybe it just stems from being a kid and always doing it with people. So going to local shows, supporting local shows is so important to keep the hobby alive. We have so many in the DMV area. I'm so thankful. And I would say just going to local shows where you're going to get the best deal. You can go on eBay. And then it's hard because then that's the comp that everyone sees and looks at. So it's really hard to make a profit doing that. But when you get in front of a people at a show or at a trade night and you build a connection and build a friendship, it's so much easier to work a deal with someone that you can build that trust with and are willing to negotiate and work a good deal out with. So biggest thing is trade nights, card shows, and looking at groups on Facebook that are around you to be able to look for just anyone who's willing to do business. I've gotten honestly probably some of my best deals on Facebook groups in the last month. So I would highly recommend that as well. So
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Dakota. And before I turn over to Trent and then we'll go to LT, I wanted to say I nothing against the people who do this, but I know in my local card show scene, I've had some dealers literally open up their eBay mail days at their table and try to flip a card that they just bought on eBay. It's so hard to get people to not, you've created the latest comp, right? From a couple of days ago, people are going to point to that comp and they want lower than that comp. So it's so hard to try to flip a card for profit, especially after you account for taxes and shipping, right? I mean, like, let's say it says $100, but the person who bought it may have paid 120, and how are they going to convince someone to buy it for anything more than $80, right? So it's really hard, but that's when relationships come into play, and trust and all that stuff. Because maybe you did buy a rare card for really low, and there are some previous comps that are higher. But I would say buying off eBay to sell as a vendor is very difficult. I've never done it, but I've seen people do it in my local card show scene. Nothing against people who do, but it's you've created the last comp, so it's so hard to untether from that. So thank you, Dakota, for that. Trent, and then we're going to get to introducing LT. So Trent, for you, please talk about the father-son connection you have with Mark here, Mr. Mark. And do you provide a military discount on your breaks?
So funny enough, yeah. So my dad, he's been in the Army as long as I can remember. And it was just always so cool growing up, and he's a reservist and everything, so like every once in a while he'd suit up and head in. But it's so cool, like having that connection with him with the military. He was, whenever I earned my commission in 2021, he was my first salute and everything, and then tying it into cards as well. Funny enough, I actually have some sitting right here, but I remember as a kid going through these Desert Storm cards with my dad and pulling out some really cool ones. I've got a few Jets up here from Dub C Rider, actually. But no, my dad definitely set me off in the right direction, and definitely made me into the man I am today, and put me in that right foot going into the military. Because not only did he set up that initial, just that framework for me, but he helped mold me in the right direction to where I could pursue a career that would definitely keep me on the right path.
That I love this. I love it so much. How wonderful that you recommended that I do a live stream, and your dad
it's so
jumps
fun.
on.
Yeah, I shot him a text. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to be on a podcast this evening. Come
me.
check it out if you got some free time." And sure enough, my dad's in here, which is pretty awesome.
I forget if you said in your intro, but what area of the country are you in?
I'm in Utah. I'm stationed at Hill Air Force Base, about an hour north of Salt Lake City.
Gotcha. And this isn't too late for your dad? Like, where is he? What
he's on the East Coast. He's on the East Coast, so it might be a little late, but but it's still cool that he jumped in and said hello and stuff. It definitely made my night.
Mr. Mark, thank you for coming on and to the podcast chat. Thank you for your service. Thank you for raising such a wonderful son. And I have to ask you and him, I mean, did you guys have a joint PC? Like, who did you guys root for growing up?
Really. I mean, so he turned me into a Mets fan, and I am now a diehard Mets fan. We chat about the Mets all the time.
It's tough.
But he's a big hockey collector, and had a bunch of his 80s cards and stuff. I actually have them in a box upstairs and everything. I've got a few up on display that were my dad's that I'll keep forever, because I mean, it's just that connection. Like, I don't care if it's a 50-cent card, if it's $100 card, like that's not leaving my possession ever.
Wow. One last question for you, and then I'm going to pass it over to LT to introduce himself. Cody Mason asks, do you think that cards like the Desert Storm cards will ever make a comeback? That's a really good question.
I hope. They're pretty cool.
I mean, not to get too about the recent wars. I mean, like, would there have to be WMD cards or like Afghanistan cards or like?
There was in this set like Scud missiles and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be cool just to show off technology and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if this would be considered propaganda today or what, but I mean, they're super cool. I mean, I have this entire stack right here is all Desert Storm cards from the set of just everything you can think of. And then here's a quick shout out for my dad, the multiple launch rocket system. That's what he worked on in Desert Storm. So I've got that one close and handy.
I have chills just thinking about that. That's really, I have literal chills. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Liches family. And we're going to get back to you and Dakota, but we do have our third of this podcast. LT, I'm going to remove the Go Mets because I as a West Coast person, you are not a Mets fan, I am sure. So the intro was really just kind of what we talked about before. We in the email about what part of the country, your branch of service, and thank you so much for being on the podcast. Oh, the audio. Let me unmute you. Can't unmute because they chose to mute themselves. If you unmute LT, you should be good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Cool. Gentlemen, nice to meet you too. Look forward to it. Denny, thank you again. Denny's been on my live before and it's turned to a good friend. So thank you for having me, taking time. I'm pretty tired. I was at Knott's with the family. So on Veterans Day weekend, enjoying it. and glad I was able to make it over here and fulfill my promise to be on here. So thank you for having me on here. Yeah. So if people don't know who I am, I'm LT. I shoot, how long have I been in the cards now? I got back into it during pandemic 2020 and did cards here and there. Very mixture of football, Dragon Ball Z, a little bit Pokemon, kind of just everything, but didn't really get into it till the 2020 time frame. Prior to that, when it all started, and then got into just like everyone, just kind of nostalgia. Got back in football, basketball. I am into UFC, of course. I think, Denny, you know this. I competed in mixed martial arts as an amateur, so that was one of the things that got me into the other card side. And then, of course, whatever product I could grab off the shelves during that time, I learned a lot about baseball. So that's what it really was all around. I started learning about hockey too. But yeah, when I was just hearing the other two gentlemen, yeah, the community has been great. And I don't like, respectfully, I am very opinionated, but of course I'm on someone else's channel. So definitely, respect is a mutual thing. And like I said, we all have different opinions and views and stuff, but the love of cards and being dorks and stuff is what it comes down to. And thank you for you two for your service, of course, and Denny for honoring it. It's very much appreciated. I think we're very misunderstand breed of people, and I think we mean well. I may not be always the nicest, but I mean well where I'm coming in from. But yeah, I retired recently from the Army. 20 years active duty, 23 years total. These guys don't know what the MOS is. I was in chemical warfare, weapons mass destruction, homeland security. So that would be the CBRN. I was NBC. And then I went into human resources, got that MOS, jumped into operations, planning. So I was enlisted, never kiss ass for a living. I do have my MBA from Syracuse. If you guys are enlisted, you get that joke, of course. It's politics and all that stuff is always an annoying thing of the military side. But Denny and I have we've talked. Obviously, we are Asian brothers. I shared with him having going through discrimination in the military. I think someone was talking about race earlier, and I always think that's like a sensitive topic, but it's one of the realities of things. It is what it is. But there's nothing to sit here and play a victim game or anything like that. It's just the reality of some of the stuff. But some of my closest friends and best people I've met through the military, it's a melting pot. But as you two gentlemen know, you've been through basic training, you've been through deployments, multiple schools, and you have no choice but to mesh with other people. You're gonna have to find a way to get along with people or not, even if you gotta learn how to work with them. That's the beauty of it. And I think it ties well with cards. As I shared with Denny, there's certain people that I just don't get along with, but the nice thing is with the hobby is the card collectibles community, you can always pick and choose who you want to be part of, and it's all good. It doesn't need to turn to this high school type of thing, because as veterans, we've done our thing. Oh, what the heck happened?
No, that's me. That's me.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay. I'm learning. I'm learning how to do this.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Yeah. No, but yeah, I was saying is, as veterans, it's a nice little navigation. I think it's a great community aspect. I found some of the coolest and nicest people in my area. I'm in Southern California. Sorry, I probably should have mentioned that. I am Los Angeles, everything. So I am very happy off that Dodgers World Series victory. It was actually, I gave a little, as Sports Card Radio says, I gave a little stab to Cage Lawyer on this Yankees. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I'm really happy of the World Series victory, and the Rams are doing okay. They play tomorrow, so I missed my fantasy football. Absolutely sucks right now. But my Lakers, I not happiest that LeBron is on that team, but it is what it is. And the Kings are not doing too bad, so it's been pretty nice for LA. But then my school is Syracuse from there. But yeah, I hope I didn't talk too much there, Denny. I just was kind of just putting everything together there.
No. We're glad to have you on. You're catching up. You didn't miss too much. I mean, you missed kind of like the intros of the others, but if you go back and watch it, or thank you for people who are tuning in. We have 13 in the chat. This is more than I thought. I gotta ask, because Dubsy Writer asked it. We are trying to see the thread count of your tweets. Do you have Egyptian cotton?
Yeah, this is my wife's pillow, and then my pillow somewhere here. We got home, and then when you have kids, and if you two gentlemen have kids, I know Denny, you have kids. When you get home, you got to feed them immediately. The wife is tired, and I was like, look, I promised my friend I would be on here. Here I am, and just try to get into a nice location and doing the podcast. So yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the most comfortable position right now.
Good. So I'm gonna take a few minutes because you teed me up really perfectly. It was completely unintentional, but you mentioned kind of like the Asian brotherhood that we have, and also kind of like how you have no choice but to mesh well with others. So I wanted to mention what I kind of did earlier that Trent and Dakota heard. I was born in South Korea, and I moved to the U.S. My family did when I was 2. So I was a Korean citizen until I turned American citizen in my late teens. But in South Korea, it's compulsory military service, mandatory. I think it's 30 months. It's like a little bit more than two years, but under 3 years, I think, unless it's changed. But yeah, between 2 to 3 years, mandatory service for anyone who is not disabled and who is a healthy young man. I guess when you're in your 30s, you're not young, but 18 to 30 or 35. So there I was as an 18-year-old in the Seoul airport, ready to go back to America from seeing my grandparents and seeing my family. And I was detained at the airport saying, well, you need to serve in the military. You can't go back to America, because there's a lot of Korean Americans who kind of don't want to do the military service.
Right.
And so I was detained at the airport for a decent bit until my, family got involved and were like, look, he goes to college and he doesn't know the rules. Like, they're like, look, you can't even speak Korean. I was like, I can, but oh, you don't want me to speak Korean? Okay, yeah, I can't speak Korean. And like, they did this whole thing where they were trying to really get me to not get conscripted or drafted. I don't even, not drafted, but to enlist. And I really think about that a lot, because I wondered, like, how would it have been? Because one, it wouldn't have been the U.S. military, it would have been the Korean military, but I would have served and I would have been in some unit, and I would have had like a brotherhood. And as someone who is an only child and someone who didn't collect with his dad, or like I collected with friends, but like it makes me wonder how my life could have been so different if I served. So that's one thing that came up when you mentioned the whole like kind of like Asians, because and then there was the possibility, I definitely thought, because it's so enticing with such a great incentive package for people who enlist, and also military retirement, right? There's so many people in the US in the hobby. I'm sorry, there are so many people that I know in the hobby who are military retired, who have a good amount of income that they can do the cards on the side and supplement their whole income in that way. LT, I think you said you are you military retired?
Yes, retired. Yeah, recently.
Without getting into the exact dollars and cents and all that, like, I mean, is it how does that allow you to kind of focus on cards and like, or are you full time? Without asking, all the
no, you're good.
private
You're good.
information.
Yeah, no. I live comfortably. I know these two gentlemen. We can speak in military lingo without advertising everything, because you have to be careful on how you say certain things and stuff. But yes, I live comfortably, and I'm waiting on certain things that will decide what my additional income will be. But like I said, the previous backgrounds that I mentioned prior to, I am still contemplating if I want to put myself out there in the job market and go that direction, because it is hard for my experience. Being a military veteran this long and then retiring is a foreign world. Even if I know one person was, I think, 8 years and one person's 4 years. Regardless, serving in the military, it is It's one of the most challenging, rewarding things you can do out there. But mentally, like I said, politically, uh, sometimes just sitting there, at least on the Army side, you sit there and you waste a whole fucking day. Like you sit there and like, what the hell did I just like? You sit there, hurry up and wait. Sure, my Army fellow vet understands it. The other areas, Air Force, and all respect to all the branches. Everyone has it in different ways, just with the different emphasis and what the specific mission is. Everyone has everyone has their purpose. But to answer your question, I'm trying to figure out with my previous experience how I'm going to adapt out into the regular civilian world, because I did retire at 40. So remember, I joined out 17. So
Wow.
you got to remember, this is a quarter of my life, man. So
Wow.
I'm still adjusting to dealing with civilians, and I know some people hate that term, right? But it's the reality. That's how we address you guys, and we're military vets. We're grunt soldiers, airmen, whatever. And so it's a big adjustment thing to understanding the different side of it, because it is a challenge, because we are misunderstood people. I'm not putting in excuses for us, but we are a different breed of type of people, just kind of a industry, just like work with law enforcement, fire, EMS, whoever there's a certain lingo and mentality and structure that you're used to. And that's not to knock anybody's industry or what they work into, but that's
Gotcha.
I'm realizing a challenge coming to that. But the card stuff for me, Denny, is something I enjoy, the camaraderie aspect. And I love collecting, like I told you. I think, I have some oddball stuff. You've seen my Instagram. I have some random ass cards, and I do a few sets for LA based sports, but I chase Asian players, Islander players, and especially Vietnamese people.
Right.
So I built a vast variety of things, but the card shows, I don't remember. I think I showed you. I went to the Burbank Anaheim card show, and I think I went to one in Palm Desert. So I went over there and I met with other people and connected with them and just made a few sales. But I don't do this full time. It's
Gotcha.
Because
Well, I want to hear more from Trent and Dakota. But before I do, I want to say, when you just mentioned the ages of 17 to 40, I'm like, wait a minute, that tracks very much with LeBron James. So you guys might have more in common. I know you say you don't like him as on your team, but 17 to 40, man, that's quite a
it is kind of
number of years.
I think about it, because we graduated around the same time, and he obviously makes a ton of money, has more status than I do. I went a whole different route. But it is kind of crazy to think about, going into there. Yeah.
So thank you so much. And
Thank you.
with Trent, and then we'll go to Dakota, I did want to ask, so talking about your PC, again, completely naturally, I didn't realize that LT was going to bring us here, but I did want to, that's where my head was going was, do you collect, does your PC comprise at all of players who have served in the military? I know one very big one that comes around this time of year is Pat Tillman, and we have current and one big name I remember from the world. Oh gosh, this is where I'm gonna really mess it up. But like maybe the World War II days, Ted Williams, and other baseball players who served in the military and then came back to play at a high level. But do you collect folks like that?
So a little bit. And I actually have them literally right here, because I saw your ideas for questions and I wanted to bring it up. So this is a red refractor from 2022 Topps Chrome, and you're like, 2022. But this is Griffin Jax. He's the only United States Air Force Academy graduate to make it to the big leagues. And it's super cool. I almost have like the full rainbow. Like this is the red to 5. I was working on the whole rainbow of his Topps Chrome rookie auto run, because I'm like, that's so cool. As an Air Force Academy grad, he's the only one that he was on there. And then one that is a lot more expensive than a name you probably don't know of Griffin Jax, Paul Skenes. So if you're wondering, if you're like, Paul Skenes, what? So Paul Skenes actually went to the Air Force Academy for 2 years before he went to LSU and then became the #1 draft pick in 2023. And ironically enough, I was a basic cadet training cadre when he was going through basic training. So I do have the privilege of saying that I yelled at the #1 overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft. So that's a fun little piece.
Wait, when you say you yelled at him, I mean, can you share more about that?
Yeah. So, like the videos of, like the drill instructors yelling at troops, like going through training and stuff. So at the Air Force Academy, it's all cadet run. So when I was a senior about to graduate, he was a 4 degree or basic cadet, and he was earning his ranks into the cadet wing as a whole. So at the Air Force Academy, before you go to school, get your military training and stuff, you start off with basic training, just like you would in any other branch. And so when he was going through basic training, I was one of the cadets who was, the instructor type.
That is incredible. I did not know that. What could he? I'm sure he's a super athletic gentleman.
Anything.
What? Yeah, because you. Is it true that in the military, like, you could be doing everything perfect, but
yes,
people have to bark at you or yell at you to
Yeah.
do something that to kind of almost like break you down mentally, or like?
Yeah, so I'll give you an idea of the biggest trick I use. So when you stand, everybody in here will know the position of attention. Your feet are at a 45-degree angle, right? And what I would always do to guys, and it's terrible, and I know, but I would tell them, what's wrong with your feet? Because when you ask them that question, they're going to do one of a couple things. One, they're going to look down at their feet, which you're not supposed to look around. Two, they're going to move their feet, which you're not supposed to move around. Or three, they're just going to be confused, and then you can yell at them for not knowing what's wrong with them. It could be everything right, but yeah, it was just a ploy. But that's one of those things that we talked about at the beginning of just the attention to detail of things, and what you learn through the military and stuff. So it's just one of those, building that foundation of a troop in the military.
That is so awesome. You yelled at Paul Skenes for his feet. That is. Thank you. Dakota, I don't know how you're going to follow that up, but do you collect any military personnel, servicemen, veterans? If not, what does your PC comprise of?
Yeah, definitely not top on that one, Trent. That's pretty awesome. So I have a couple PC cards here. I do collect one person who had served in the World War II area. I think it's a kind of slept on one. Derrick Henry's been my guy, though, my whole life. So modern stuff, Derrick Henry is my big guy. So we love Derrick Henry. He's the best running back of the last decade. I don't care what anyone says. But for World War II, this guy served in the Navy, and then came back, and I think had probably one of the best careers, arguably, as a catcher, which would be Yogi Berra. Oh no, so nice. Yogi Berra served in the Navy. So I have two cards here. Oh no, there we go.
Yeah,
from the 50s. So this one is one of my favorites. Says 54 tops and a 58 tops. My goal is to try to collect the whole 50 to 60 of Yogi. But he's one of those big name players that is just also very, very expensive. And I'm not a person who is loaded with money like LeBron James to be able to buy that whole set. But yeah, Yogi Berra has been just far beyond what I can imagine. There's a documentary on him, on his career, and how he should be named one of the best players of all time. And I totally agree with it. And I think being a good player goes far beyond more what you do in the game. It shows his aspect in his life, like how he served, what he did in the Navy, and just coming into baseball and doing so many great things in baseball. And then one thing that stuck out to me is kind of a little off topic, was just like how much he admired his wife, like through the whole process of baseball and the Navy, and how much him and his wife were so close. And I was like, it's such an inspiration to me to like admire my wife the same way that Yogi did, and just to have that mutual service relation to that. So if anything PC, it'd be Yogi from World War II.
Dakota, you're speaking my language, man. That's really awesome. Wow. And even though he's Navy, like I guess maybe that's the next question I want to ask. And again, thank you for we were talking about vulnerability earlier, and for you to share that is really awesome. So, I mean, can we talk a little bit about the different military branches? And first of all, do we even include nothing against and no offense to Space Force?
I already knew you were going to say it. I was going to say no right away.
We both did.
Okay. LT's I think he's trying to grab a bite because he just came back from, I think he said Knott's Farm, or I know there's some amusement park stuff in California that's like Knott's Berry Farm. I don't know. But what about, okay, so no to Space Force. I think LT might agree with that. Coast Guard.
I mean, I'm kind of the perspective of we do include the Space Force, and I'll explain why before the mob comes after me.
Okay.
So being in this unit now, so these guys can attest to, Denny, I'm not sure if you know, but throughout your career, the military has a tendency to move you around a lot. And so, I mean, I've been bounced around, and when you move, typically, at least in my job, you kind of change what you work on. So although, I deal with programmatics of, money, cost, schedule, performance of everything, but I've worked on like the Air Force's budget system, and now working in a missile system, missiles go up into space, and I have to deal with Space Force operators too and everything. So without them, we wouldn't get good flight test data and things like that. So I'm arguing for the Space Force. And as far as coasties go, I'm just going to say I'm jealous. I would love to be at the beach always, guarding the beach,
man.
but no, I haven't dealt with too many coasties, but so I guess I don't have anything bad to say, but I guess there is a little bit of jealousy there.
Gotcha. All right, LT, Space Force and Coast Guard, are they equal to Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force?
Oh man, I honestly, now I'm in this different stage of my life that I'm retired. I'm much more calmer. There's something I'm passionate about, of course, because Denny got to see me. He gets to see me on the other side of my alter ego, LT. But I'll say I respect all the branches. The Space Force, it is funny when I'm going up to, because I'm in the LA area. When I go to LA Air Force Base, they change it to now, it's called Space Force. I think it's called Station or something. It's really strange to see. But if you look at back our history, Denny, Air Force actually came from the Army. They branched off, just like the Marines came from the Navy. The Marines are the Navy's infantry. And the Coast Guard is, they start off as the Department of Transportation. It got activated as DOD for 9/11, then went to DHS, Department of Homeland Security. So if you look at the history of the branches, they're always going to be the fun, knock, they suck, this, Marines eat crowns, Army are dumb soldiers, blah, blah, blah. Air Force has steak and lobster. Air Force do get treated well, though. I mean, I think my Army guy here will know. Like, that, it was one of the most mind-blowing things when I saw that privates were serving, they pick up your trays. Like, they have really nice cafeterias. They actually would pick up your trays. And I was like, this is crazy, because Army guy, you go into a cafeteria, defects, freaking crap, dude. It's like crap food. You clean up your stuff, and you'd be lucky to get anything good. I mean, I was telling my buddy this earlier at Knott's, because now in this whole new life, like, I get to enjoy and eat good foods and not eat reheated MRE food. That's what it is. It's just big MREs. That's what they give to you out in the field. So your stomach gets really messed with. We get fed some crap. But Air Force and Navy, some of the best facilities where I've had food in the galley over to the Air Force side. But no, I have a high level of respect for the branches. I have friends in all the services, and it's always fun to poke at it. But because I worked in the unique side of the Army and Homeland Security, I worked with a lot of different branches of service, and of course the civilian side, working with the new bridge agencies that I don't want to go into too many details, but it was pretty cool to work alongside there. So it's like that. I think there's always a mutual respect, especially on Veterans Day, is you're always appreciative of what everyone does and they bring to the table.
Very mature response. Wow, that's very great. I
Well,
thought you might go a different way.
Well, Denny, and to these are the two gentlemen. It's an alter ego that I have. If you guys follow me later on Instagram and stuff, you'll get to. I have a lot of fun, because when I'm with my other military brothers here, that we're always gonna have that camaraderie. Yeah, I don't know these two, but we're always gonna have that bond. It's just
that's awesome.
We've been through it in different ways, but we understand each other. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, the minute Denny reached out, I followed both of you, because I was
I
don't follow these guys.
Exactly,
let's.
It's just one of the things. Yeah, it's funny. Your comment there, Zach says Space Force, just makes you think of Steve Carell. So that's funny in there. I didn't mean to be rude, by the way. When you guys were showing your cards, that I saw those are really cool collections that you saw. I just want to share something real quick, Denny, if it's cool.
Yeah, please, of course.
Denny knows I'm an Aaron Donald guy, so Aaron Donald is my goat, just like my guy there that loves Derrick Henry. He's doing an amazing, fantastic job in Baltimore. There's no denial that dude is not destroying it. But yeah, Aaron Donald is my guy, not just because I'm a Rams fan. I followed him since St. Louis, and I love everything about that guy's driving and everything, helping us get Super Bowl. So happy with him. And then for basketball, of course, I'm a Kobe guy, but I started off with the GOAT. So
There you go.
I mean, everyone has different opinions, of course, but I think Denny will agree with me. Jordan's my GOAT.
For those on podcasts, and I'm sorry I didn't mention this
Yeah,
with
you're good. You're good.
Dakota's cards, but that was I don't know what year, but that's an MJ checklist card. And the reason I know that is, and it's a really cool checklist card because it has
Yeah.
like almost like a
You're
flare
absolutely correct.
showcase where there's a full body shot of him and then kind of like a portrait shot. But it's one of the only PSA 10 Jordans I have. And I mean, whether you want to talk about PSA pop control of Michael
Yeah.
Jordan cards, I mean, that's a beautiful copy.
It's a simple card to me, but I love it because there's no monetary value to it. This is for me. This is to pass on to my kids later on.
Exactly.
Like that's the love of the collecting aspect of it. It has no money value, but to me. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
absolutely.
I didn't know that with the checklist. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Did you want to show some more cards or because this is about the hobby?
One I want to tell these other gentlemen, when you guys have a chance, there's a guy named Tim Johnson. When you have a chance, Google him. He's an amazing story. He played for the Miami Heat. I think he wore number 40. He only played, I want to say, 2 to 4 seasons with the Heat. Get this. He was so tall, 6'7", joined the Army. This is during Desert Storm in the 90s. So he served. I don't think he did that well with the Heat. Ended up joining, becoming an E4, and then went out to the war. I forget if it was either Desert. I think it was OEF or ORIF. It wasn't during the early 90s, but with the whole Bush deal. And after he was done, he came back and became a reserve firefighter. And then now he's coaching to young basketball players. But the Miami Heat honored him on his service. I don't think they retire his number, but that's who I collect. Very, very affordable card. Tim Johnson's a really cool one. And then, of course, this is one of my favorite Pat Tillman cards. Very simple. It's just the rookies and stars.
Yeah.
And these two gentlemen, and this is where Denny, LT pushes it to the limit. I will push things. This is your commander-in-chief in 2 months.
I thought it was I thought it was Joe Mangini, hobby president.
No. This is the actual commander-in-chief, my friend. So it was funny. I had so I want to share something. If this is okay to share with you. So this
before you do, I did want to share for the podcast folks who are listening on podcasts, but this is definitely a visual and a more video especially with the live chat. But I am going to push this on my podcast platforms, and that was the origination of the card diary. You did just show a Donald Trump card where it's a Game of Trump. Is that a license card? I mean, can you show the back of it?
It's one of those unofficial funny, but to me, it's a very unique card. I thought it was super cool. I bought it. I bought it actually right during the time when Biden came in, and I found it just a very cool, unique card. And I like oddball cards like this. And I'm not a Trumper. I don't need to explain myself. I'm retired, right? But the point is, these two other guys, gentlemen, will know, is everyone has always asked me opinion. This is something that is great for your viewer audience to know. Is when people ask you, what is your opinion on your commander-in-chief, right? Because that's how you should address it. What's your opinion on the president? If any smart, these guys know, you don't speak against your commander-in-chief. You serve an oath, whatever service you go. It's actually UCMJ Article 88. I looked it up. I have a lot of time now to look things up, but in all seriousness, it is a very serious, like, I shit you not, Denny. There are certain things that you can get a code of conduct that you can get into a lot of trouble in the military, especially going against superiors, officers, and those things that nature. So now that I'm retired, I have a whole different aspect on how I view things and look things, and I don't need to get into those the weeded things. I respect people's opinions, and that's the beauty of America. At the end of the day, this is one of the greatest countries in the world, and we have one of the best militaries out there, and we have this nation is amazing. But I really believe in unification is the biggest thing, and as silly as it sounds, staying divided is not the way to go. And I think unification has been one of the great things that we've seen the last few days. But I wanted to share with these other two gentlemen. There was a guy that I was on Facebook, and I just said, hey, I'm glad this is over, and let's stay united, not divided type thing. And, I use the America First quote, which I think Trump uses, right? I didn't mean it to do it in a derogatory term or anything. I just think it's a cool slogan. America should be first, right? And then he sits there and he puts one of these meme things that says, here's the next 10 years or whatever with Trump Vance, and puts a whole laundry list thing. And I'm sitting there like, what am I supposed to do with this, dude? And he was like, he's like, this is to remind you what you signed up for. And I sat there and I laughed. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on here. You're still serving in the military, I said, and this is your next commander in chief coming. So you are, this is your next commander in chief you are serving. So slow your roll here, buddy. Right. And I was very polite about it. And next thing he did, he blocked me because he knew I wasn't wrong. Because what I said, January 20th, 2025, make sure you keep that same energy going, buddy. And it was crazy to me because this guy have a higher rank of me, but it shows you I guess I don't want to say there's an immaturity aspect to it, but there's a weak mindset to, if you've served in the military this long, how do you go? It's okay to disagree, right, with things, but you don't sit there and advertise these kind of things. So you keep it to yourself. I'm sure these two guys here have their own political views and whatever they, but we go in there, we do what we have to do, we accomplish the mission, and we take care of the American people, and I don't like to be put in a situation to where it's in there like, what would you do if X, Y, and Z and your citizens and people don't put me into that. This is I'm just a pawn on the board, man. So I don't know how you two feel about that. I don't want to put you guys in a weird situation. I'm just getting to know you guys.
Same exact. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's you be smart. I mean, like that's what it boils down to. Like posting stuff on the internet it's there forever. You never know who's going to see it. I mean, like everybody was saying before, like Facebook is a great place. I mean, that's where I mostly hang out at. And, every once in a while somebody will post, a card for sale and their coin card is like similar to your Game of Trump card, and that just fires up everybody. And it's like, even like cards are apolitical. I mean, you like, if I'm on the opposite aisle of somebody, they can go buy the same exact card with the same green money. Like, I don't care how you think politically. Like I'm here for the cards. I'm not here for your political views.
Exactly.
If I wanted to be here for political views, I'd join a political group, not a baseball card group.
Exactly. What do you think, brother? What do you think down there?
Dakota, no pressure to share, but if you wanted to, this is
100%. Like LT was saying, like you can get a lot of trouble for sharing your views publicly in the military. It's something I think causes a lot of division in our country, which is really, really sad. Because unity is the most important thing I've ever discovered in life. Is when you work together as a team, whether it be many different aspects, right? As a hobby, if we work together as a team, things can go well. In a marriage, you work together with your wife, things are going to go well. And as a unit, a country, things will just flourish. So it is always fun to just sit back and watch this time of every 4 years and just see how many friends end up not becoming friends. And it's so sad that it causes all of this. And like LT said, I'm just glad it's over. I will always respect whoever's in charge. Might not agree with them all the time, but I'll always respect them because they're my boss. And I'm just hoping we're all pushing for better, always looking to push America into a better place. So
very well said, Dakota, and everyone else. Glad the Ripper says spitting facts. And I have been putting up chat comments up on the YouTube stream, but the podcast won't really read it because it's completely audio. But I did want to appreciate and thank everyone for being here in this first ever live stream. I may have to do this more. Thank you, Trent, for recommending this. Your dad might have dropped off because it is getting late. Mr. Mangini, hobby president, may have ended. But Austin Hayes Collector asks, "What you eating, LT?" Oh, sorry, I got to unmute you. There you go. What are you eating?
Oh, thank you, Austin. My wife just made a healthy Chipotle style bowl at home, so cost effective and gets the job done.
Awesome. Dub C Writer says LT is such a great live podcaster. Snacking in bed is so gangster. I love that.
Well, Denny and I have history, so I think I'm okay getting away with that.
Oh, absolutely. No, be
Getting
comfortable.
real comfortable in here.
Dub, yeah. Everyone keep their shirts on though, please. I don't want to get
No promises.
So
No.
Dub C Writer says this is an awesome podcast. I hope you don't have a time limit. So Dub C, thank you, and thank you to all the others. I think at its peak we had almost 20 people here. We're currently at about 8 people. People who are still here, thank you so much again. Dakota, I think, is the only one who said he may have to drop off soon. I know Elta came on a little bit later. Trent may have to go break. I'm just old and I'm getting tired, but I love this conversation. We're a little bit over the 1 hour mark. Dakota, how do you feel?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pretty good. We can go for a little longer.
Okay.
It's definitely worth the sacrifice of sleep to be able to speak truth with other people. And
let's
just
go. Yeah, I'm gonna do another check-in at about 10. How about 10 minutes? Hour 15. I don't know how much longer we're gonna go.
Yeah.
I think I asked. I don't know why I sounded so Midwestern there, but I think I asked the majority of the questions I wanted to. I did want to maybe circle back to I know we talked about Yogi Berra, we talked about Paul Skenes, which is amazing, but when it comes to a player who did die in the line of fire, and I know there's a lot of controversy with like the friendly fire and all that. I recently read an ESPN article, and I'm not going to share the screen and put it up there, but it was incredible. There was more I learned from that one article than I had in the previous, almost or maybe more than 2 decades of since his passing. So I was just so surprised to read so much that came either unclassified or uncovered. And so again, I'm not asking you guys if you don't want to about like your opinions about the whole friendly fire situation, but like Pat Tillman, the ultimate sacrifice, you have Gold Star families and all that, like how Pat Tillman, an athlete, a military serviceman in the hobby, whether you collect him or not, like what's the question? Like, how do you feel about just his role in the duality of sports and military? And Trent, you can go first if you want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing that really stands out is just the fact that he was playing at such a high level and then made that decision. It shows nothing but true character. I mean, and we chatted about it before of what you sign up for, but you don't know that you're signing up to get shot by your own people. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's definitely a controversial situation with the blue on blue. So friendly. But no, I think it just shows his true character, and Pat Tillman is the epitome of a hero. And I fully believe that because, like I said, you're playing it in the NFL, and then you make that decision of no, I want to do something better than myself. And I think that just shows the type of person that he was. And I think that his legacy is properly encased as that type of person.
Wow. Very well said. Dakota, do you want to share anything about that, or should we go to LT, who's still eating a little bit something?
Yeah. Just like Trent was saying, like the ability to be at the highest level you can be, right? Every kid dreams of being a professional athlete. And to succeed in that and to perform well in that, and to answer a calling that was placed on your heart to serve your country, to leave the money, the fame, to respond to a call you had in your heart, to chase after that and serve your country is, like he said, is just says so much about his character and who he is as a person. Like he went from serving his football team to then serving his country, and that just really screams that he's a person who loved to serve, and just had a servant's heart. And it's just when you think of a man, that guy, Pat Tillman, was a man, and deserves every honor you can think of. And it is a sad and unfortunate situation. The friendly fire, you don't necessarily sign up for that, and it is a shame that is a reason many service members die every year is friendly fire. and it is really sad that that happens. And how we prevent that, I have no idea. Some more safety trainings. I get bored in safety trainings, but do we have enough? I don't know, because I feel like it is preventable, but it's a very grave situation. What had happened.
Yeah, thank you. And before I turn it over to LT, I think the thing that I found really unfortunate, and again, different accounts may vary, but it was kind of like that cover up, or kind of like hiding because of the political aspect of the nation's desire or reluctance to be in the war because of so many other tragic things happening, and kind of like the bad PR. I think that's what, again, the some people may disagree with that, but what I read in the ESPN article was kind of really outlining what the reasons could have been as to why things were maybe withheld from, even his own family. And until I read that article, I didn't even know that his brother was in that unit. And they split off the unit when they got to a certain overpass. But they like I'm surprised they haven't even made a movie about it. But it's quite like Dakota said, like when you talk about a man, like that's we've got a lot of wannabe men in the hobby, or people who have a lot of toxic masculinity. But I mean, the true ultimate sacrifice. And one of the things I learned about him is that he never wanted any sort of special treatment whatsoever from his unit. He wanted to be treated just like everyone else. Just he wanted to be like Paul Skenes. Just look at the feet and how they're positioned. So, but LT, what do you think about Pat Tillman?
No, very well said. I absolutely agree with Dakota and Trent. The epitome of a man. Obviously, I'm a huge football fan. I didn't know very much about him. He's pretty good safety for the Arizona Cardinals, and at the time, pretty good lucrative contract that was offered to him. And to go out there and join the Green Berets, and that shows you ultimate sacrifice and the epitome of being a man, and going to serve your country, and doing what you believe in, and having the choice to leave loads of money and fame, and doing that is very commendable. But the same token, I completely agree with all of you. Is I find it very disrespectful in the sense that the friendly fire situation and how people look at things and want to go in tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, right? It's you have to respect the person that did the job and sacrifice himself in that sense, that put the uniform on and did the thing, and unfortunately it was friendly fire, right? And there's things that people can go into, right? But I don't. I find it's very rude. It's very disrespectful. Yeah, honor the man, rest in peace. But that's the way I look at it, and I'm sure these two. It hits me a little different. I have served longer. Both of you gentlemen are out, right? Are you guys still in, or you guys both
No,
out?
I'm active duty, and
You're still in. Okay.
Yeah, National Guard.
And you're out, right?
I'm still in 8 years.
You guys do it. Okay, got it. Cool. Yeah, but I'm sure you guys have lost friends through deployments, suicide, and stuff like that. So it for me, it hits very sensitive for me. I've lost a lot of friends through these kind of situations. So it's always a tough. We I think that's one of the things that people don't get for veterans when we hold it aside. It's one of those things that I still struggle with. I lost a lot of good friends through those things. So it's I think showing the respect is the best thing you can do. The man put the uniform on and did it. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Well said. So Dub C Writer says he clearly worked from his heart, not his financial status, which is so uncommon nowadays. And after 9/11, and I think some people thought that that's part of the reason why he did go, was because of just that nationalism, that patriotism that came from that. And then Dubsy Writer also says, I'm impressed. Not a single kid has interrupted the stream. Do you guys have kids? Out of the four of us, I think maybe there's like 4 or 5 total. But, it's kind of late enough where they're kind of sleeping. I don't know. And then Glad says, these guys are getting follows from me. Thank you, Glad. A great supporter. I don't know this name. I wanted to talk to you guys about this person because I don't know. So Austin Hayes Collector says Alejandro Villanueva, also a vet.
He was an offensive tackle for the Steelers.
Still or
I don't know about these two gentlemen knowing him, but I believe he got into a political pressure because if you recall during the BLM stuff during 2020 when they were kneeling down, he was the guy that said, he's an officer. So he's like, I represent, he was very prideful with that flag. And I don't know if you two know, I believe he resigned he quit the NFL. So I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I think, and also Ben Garland is another one. He's an Air Force grad like me. And so, yeah, I think he was also in that same boat of those folks who stood for the national anthem and everything. Cause I mean, yeah, it's what you sign up for, you know?
Yeah.
I hesitate to bring up the name this late into the game, but I mean, just the flag kneeling, and then you have Pat Tillman, who, like, again, he was at like his physical peak, his prowess. He had not like multi dozens of millions of dollars, but he had a millions of dollars contract. He was, again, not in the decline. Some people believe that the only reason, and again, I don't agree with this, but like the only reason Colin Kaepernick did kneel was because he was near the end of his kind of like peak, and he was, stirring the pot or whatever it is. I mean, for anyone to go against a huge organization is huge. And I know there are some people who felt like kneeling was actually the more respectful thing than to actually sit. I forget who told him that, but apparently he was kneeling out of respect as opposed to sitting or sitting on the bench or not being there. But I mean, maybe this is where maybe I don't want to end with this because it's not like the highest of notes, but I mean, what does the flag mean to you? What did you feel about with Colin Kaepernick? Would you ever collect his cards? Like, again, maybe weaving a little bit in with the hobby. Like, do you collect cards with flags in the background? Like, maybe we'll go Dakota, LT, and Trent.
I'll be back. Let Dakota start. I'll be back.
Yeah. So here's my Derrick Henry National Pride. I think it's a cool card. It's got the flag in the background. Looks great. I love the national prides. But yeah, so regarding Colin Kaepernick, the kneeling of the flag, growing up, when a player gets hurt in a sport, you take a knee, right? That player didn't die. That player got hurt. And at a funeral, you do a lot of standing in honor at a funeral for somebody. So I feel like standing for the national anthem is just one of the best things you can do if you're physically able, right? There are people who are disabled, things like that, who can't stand. I respect that. But if you are physically able to stand for national anthem, I think it's one of the greatest things. It brings tears in my eyes every time I'm at an Orioles game and it gets played. And the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, when people started kneeling, I took that very personal. I would probably never collect a Colin Kaepernick card, or anyone who ever that I know of did that. He's also signed with Nike. I will refuse to buy anything Nike because they supported him through that. So I will not buy Nike products because I don't support that. And yeah, that's kind of where I stand with that whole process.
All right. Thank you for that, Dakota. Trent, you were trying to show us a card. I'm going to highlight you on the main screen.
Yeah, so I went and based off your question. So I'm a baseball only guy. I mean, you could see all the box behind me. But yes, I do have a card of a flag in the background.
Nice.
It's a 2022 Topps Series 2 Shohei Ohtani short print. I'm a big short print collector. As far as the Colin Kaepernick situation goes, I mean, I don't collect any of his cards. I can count how many football cards I have on one hand. But I mean, I love watching football and everything. My fantasy football team is also in shambles. But all I'll say on it is I respect his freedom of expression. As somebody who's active duty, that's about as much as I can say and will say. But yeah, I mean, this is the only card I have of a flag in the background. I mean, I think I've got a couple others. A really cool one. It's an insert set from 2023 Bowman Chrome when they did the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, right.
So every team that a player played for has a flag in the background, and I definitely need to pick up a cool Mike Trout variation of that because I think that'd be really cool. And Pete Alonso is a Mets guy.
Of course, definitely. Go Gators. LT, Colin Kaepernick.
Oh man, no, I just love listening to these two different opinions. We have to do this again, Denny. It's great conversation. Right here, I'm just holding a simple American flag card. This is from if you look back, I love oddball cards.
Oh
I
yeah.
think a star. That's the actual back to the '90s star. So I like the little flags it has at the American flag, and I have it next to my desk. And what this flag means to me, uh, I could go into days and teardrops. I love this flag. I'm first generation um, Vietnamese American. My parents immigrated over here to give me a better life, and you know that's one of the things I joined for national pride. But I also didn't have much of a direction, in life. I wasn't the traditional become a doctor, lawyer type thing, and went that route. And it's kind of hard not to have a sense of pride for that flag and that uniform um, that you wear. And I can understand where Dakota's coming from, but also I understand where Trent is in terms of Colin Kaepernick. There are things that I don't agree with, and I can understand where he's coming from. And it's just one of those type things that I just don't like to get involved, if that makes sense. It's one of those tough things with freedom of expression, freedom of speech. But I respect both sides to it. And that's kind of where it's good, Danny. It's okay to ask these kind of questions because you're always going to get different type of opinions, but it's okay to agree to disagree type things. But as far as Kaepernick is, he's not relevant. Obviously he's not. No NFL team wants him. So that's all you have to say. And it's not a slap in his face. It's the reality.
Right.
You're not like you were that good of a quarterback.
Yeah, Austin Hayes, and I didn't fact check any of this, but he says he's still an active Raven, not on the roster, but pretty sure practice squad. Again, it's possible. We also have Dub C writer saying, "Wait, LT, I need to grab some more beers."
Enjoy, man.
And I don't believe that this has to do with the beer comment, but Dub C writer says 22 a day. It's a sad truth. I believe he's
So that's
referencing the
suicides,
military.
veterans. Yeah.
Wow, this is fantastic. Glad the Ripper asks, can you put their stuff in the description? I imagine he means your socials. Maybe that's one of the things we could do as an outro. I will put it in the show description notes, but could you, each of you, starting with Trent, then Dakota and LT, share any socials, any, like promote anything, your breaks, your dealers, your card shows that you're going to be up at, and we'll put maybe a nice little bow on this after that.
Yeah, for sure. So I actually realized that I forgot to answer one of your questions earlier of, do I give a military discount? Well, not typically normally. However, tomorrow, MLB baseball cards, buy, sell, trade breaks, powered by Jet Breakers on Facebook. I'm going to be doing a nice free break for all the vets. I run breaks. It's not my full-time job. I'm in the Air Force. I don't need to make money breaking. I do it for the love of the hobby. I mean, guys like Dub, I know who Dub is. I know who Zach is. Like all these guys, like I do it because it's fun to hang out, chit chat like this. I mean, this is a blast. I mean, I'm truly having a great time. But no, if anybody's interested, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Jet Breakers. If you look us up, I mean, we have a group that we run that's all buy, sell, and trade, and then we post breaks in there too. The thing I love about Facebook is that Facebook isn't like Whatnot where they charge 15% fees. So breakers have to inflate their prices and stuff. Most of the time, I mean, I make, funny enough, I've done the math, less than minimum wage some days because like, I mean, it truly is like for fun. Let's get people into this hobby. Boxes are already too damn expensive. Let's just have some fun with this. I hate the idea that, you need to charge $500 for a box you can go get for $100 somewhere else. It's not cool. It's not fun. And, we got to have more people in here who want to do this as a hobby. I think we're going in the right direction. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but I just want to put this out there. I think we're going in the right direction of, a lot of these people from 2020 who have, gone to Walmart, flip blasters and everything like that. I think they're slowly getting pushed out, which I think is fantastic. I think we need to have people in here who are here to collect. I think that breakers who don't collect are not real. Like, I don't think you should break with them. Personal opinion. I have stacks and stacks of cards of my favorite players and everything. But yeah, that's really it. Jet Breakers, everything. I think it's awesome. I run all the socials. I think it's a blast. But but yeah, definitely, it's been a ton of fun, Denny. Thanks for the invite, and God bless America. Thanks all the vets. Like my last plug is to all the vets. As somebody who's active duty, without you, the military would not be where it's at today. The foundations that you laid create an opportunity for us active duty to grow and to succeed. And for that, I am very appreciative, and hope you have a happy Veterans Day. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That was so well said. I gotta say one last plug for you though. You have your personal. So I didn't know which one to tag, but like you have Slab Falcon and you have Trent and
Yes.
there's Jet Breakers.
So the Trent is my main one.
Yeah.
Slab Falcon was just like my cards for my PC, and then I jumped on with Jet Breakers through a veteran connection. Jason, the owner of Jet Breakers, posted in our Facebook group that I was a part of for a while, and he was like, "Hey, do this survey, get this code, get this much off." I did it. The code didn't work, so I messaged him, and I saw he was in an Air Force flight suit. I was like, "Oh, cool. What do you fly?" Blah blah blah. Months and months later, here I am with a Jet Breakers mat in front of me, going to shows, representing them and stuff. But yeah, big shout out to Jason from Jet Breakers.
Yeah, shout out to Jason. I hope to have him in the future as a podcast guest. But thank you so much, Trent. And yeah, if you could stick around after these two do theirs, and then I'll just do a quick thank you and all that. But let's go over to Dakota. I'll put you on the main.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, thank you, Denny, for putting this together. This has been a super fun blast to be able to meet other brothers and just through the service. So it's been awesome getting to know Trent and LT. So thank you, Denny, for connecting us. That's what the hobby is about, connecting people. Thank you to, like Trent, going off what Trent said, like, thank you to everyone who has served before us. And because without you, like you said, the military would not be as great as it is today. It is adapted and overcome through many, many trials and tribulations, and it is just fantastic. I think truly we have the best military fighting force in the world. And it's such an honor to be a part of that. So thank you to everyone who has served before us. And hopefully we can carry that on and to live in your legacy as well. Hobby stuff's cool. I have Instagram as my main platform. And have a show coming up next year, March 1st, hosting my very first card show, where 50% of the table fee money is going straight to the nonprofit that is hosting it. I have currently working with the Orioles and Ravens to get player appearances and donations to be able to raffle off and give all of that money away as well. So we're hoping it goes well. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Dakota. I forgot about that. So, but on Instagram, they can find you as Dakota Rips _storm, or how is it going?
What even is it now? Dakota Storm Rips cards. That's what it is. There's some underscores in there, but if you type it out, you'll find it.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for being.
This one.
And LT is
Look
showing.
LT is already on it.
I just followed you.
Awesome. All right, LT, head us out. Lead us out, and then I'll do a quick little outro, and then yeah, I mean it's already 11 p.m. on the East Coast here. Go ahead, LT.
Yeah, no, yes. Thank you again, Denny. Hope to have you back on, and two brothers now I've met. We got to do this again. So I follow you now, Trent. Of course, I think I've been following you, and then Dakota just followed you. But this is where you guys can follow me at LT. Don't take me serious. It's just my pair. I have a lot of fun here. Denny would tell you. Denny, before he met me, he actually ended up liking me. Denny and I have a whole funny story, backstory. But in all seriousness, it's I have that, and I have my YouTube channel, and I go to card shows, and I like to talk about, speak my mind when it comes to stuff and cards and just in general. So always just like to have a good time. So if you're interested, check out Living with LT on YouTube and Instagram. Very much appreciate the support if you guys are able to get on there. But yeah, it's thank you for having me here, and thank you to all the people who are commenting here. And I hope you guys all enjoy your Veterans Day tomorrow. And it is a true honor to have served, retire from it, but it's motivating and always a patriotic thing to see people. You guys are still serving and doing your thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I truly believe we have the best military in the world, as long as we keep sticking together and doing the thing. So thank you guys.
Thank you so much, LT. Thank you to all of you. And I think that's the way I'm going to end this, is to thank the chat. Wow. I think Trent, I mean, I think each one of you brought some folks over from your socials, and I gotta say, for my first ever live stream, I am amazed by the amount of comments that came in. The final one that I'll read, unless there's any last ones that people want to put in the chat. It's Dub C Rider saying Trent's boss is known as Gas Man. He flies the gas station in the sky. What is that about?
Yeah, that's a nod to the KC-135. I don't know if you've ever seen fighter jets flying behind a big tanker with the boom coming out and air-to-air refueling so that the jets can continue flying. But Jason, the owner of Jet Breakers, is a KC-135 driver in the Air Force.
Trent's boss, Jason, gotcha. So is that the one that in the Dark Knight, Batman Dark Knight Rises, where Bane, is that the when they had the two jets next to each other?
Maybe. I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, I don't know, but I remember him exploding the plane. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a military movie, but I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've seen some sort of fuel, like, I mean, it's rare for any two flying objects to be that close to each other, right?
Yeah, it's freaky. But no, and a plug for Denny _cards, since if he's not going to do it himself, I'll do it for him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, sure. Seriously, yeah.
No one knows me on Instagram. My YouTube is still under 500. I mean, it's slow going. YouTube is such a slow, but I love it. It's teaching me a lot about myself and my discipline and all that stuff. But thank you for that plug, Trent. Zach, a final word. He says, we follow Trent wherever he goes. It's not that creepy with that in all caps. Zach, thank you for being so active in the chat. Dub C, glad. Mr. Mangini, Mark Leaches, who did I forget? I mean, there's so many. Cody Mason.
Hey, where's Trent? Where's Trent and us or Dakota? Where are they located at?
I'm in Utah, Salt Lake City, about an hour north of Salt Lake.
Where are you, Dakota?
I'm located in Maryland.
Okay. Oh, so you're close to Denny.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to meet you guys one of these days.
Yeah.
I don't mean to take over the show, Denny, but
no.
I am gonna probably go to a Dallas card show, and I most likely will be at the National, but I do a lot of things last minute. So.
I know. I was there last weekend. I decided to go on Thursday.
Okay. Oh, the Dallas card show?
Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
And then I believe Fanatics Live is going to be in Los Angeles this year or next year.
You know, we'll see. I mean, we're not even going to get into that because we don't have much more time, because I know Dakota, like I'm definitely
you got to do a part 2, my friend.
But
next week's episode.
Yeah. Dub C Rider says this is one of my favorites. So I put up some comments that I maybe didn't put up earlier, and one of my favorite ones was from Dub C Rider. We were trying to see the thread count of your sheets LT, so that's great.
Yeah.
But no, the Mangini collection was in here. You know, the card hunter Ziggy came in.
Good man.
You know, I'm gonna show every comment, but you know, we had some. I don't know if this is a trolley or whatever, but Jesus saves reach on 316. I don't even know how they came in here. But you know, all these folks, Trent is an important cog in the wheel for sure. And Dana Darren says, thank you to all the veterans, past and active service. And of course, Glad the Ripper saying Iraq 05, 06. Thank you for your service, fellas. Thank you for your service too as well, Glad. And y'all are fantastic. Thank you so much. I truly happy Veterans Day. And I know it's one of those things that we say, right, about any holiday. We shouldn't just say, you know, like Mother's Day. Every day is Mother's Day. You know, like we shouldn't just have one day to celebrate mothers and fathers and veterans and all that stuff. But, you know, it is the day for you all to, you know, for us to, I know it's not Memorial Day and like reflecting, and it's totally, I've learned that the big difference about all of that too. But I do want to say it is the day when we honor the folks who have just done so much for our country, more than a lot of these keyboard warriors, that's for sure. Not the chat, not this chat. I'm not calling this chat keyboard warriors because everyone is totally respectful. I just mean in general on the internet. But you guys have a fantastic evening, and tomorrow I'm gonna get this up on podcasts like literally tonight because I think it's that, you know.
Make sure you share the link, Denny, on Instagram. Please do it, and I'll reshare it.
I sure will. Thank you so much, all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to my guests. Happy Veterans Day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Danny.